in the garage again today. Finally got the right rubber grommet vibration damper things for the base. You can see they're poking through here. Right, my finger. There we go. There's one. There's the other one. They fit well, but now this. Why? It's always one step forward and 9 steps back. Is this thing? I mean, I know this thing is jacked up here. Look at a big old dent there. But is it a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch low? Are these the S14 brackets? And I need the 13s because they're different somehow? Whatever. Whatever. Progress continues. Progress continues. Everything's great. Great, great, great. I quick threw my radiator fan on there because I needed an easy win. Yes, it is close to all the stuff there, and when I tilt the engine forward, it'll be even closer, but it should clear. It is a nice Spall puller fan. Where's my box? There we go. One of those guys. Fantastic fan. It pulls a ton of air, and I use these little through zip tie type things to attach it. It doesn't move at all. It doesn't move, whirs nicely. Excellent fan. I tried it over in this area as well, but there's not really any more clearance here than there. So it is what it is. Finally, I got the remote oil filter mounted. I think it's going to be decent here. I can kind of angle these guys. It's hard to see. But I kind of angle these guys this way so they fit in this crack right here. And go down and kind of under and around a little bit. And back to those guys back there. I also picked up this titanium heat shield stuff. Ooh. I don't know. We'll see. But I want to wrap that -10 line in that. Just to kind of help with the heat a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So next day, and I'm pretty much a bodywork genius, obviously. So yesterday these things had like a 1/2 inch space on them, and there's a big angry dent thing here. I know this car's been in an accident before, because I know the person that was in that accident. But so I just took a 2x4 and my jack, and I got underneath it, and I pressed it up, and I beat down the ridges with the hammer, and you can still see it's not perfect by any means around here, right? But, better. And here it is from the top. Now it is touching this exhaust runner here, and I've got a little bit of wiggle room, but not as much as I'd like. So I don't know. I don't know how. We'll see. I don't know. What I'd like to do is make some hard lines for that to bring that oil up to the front here and route it better. But I do not currently have the technology to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, I ground away this little section here by the radiator, and now this fits so nice. Ugh, it's awesome. Feels great after kind of a crappy, stagnant night last night. So, progress. You might be asking, Phil, why is your fuel line out again? Aren't you done with that? No, I'm not, because I forgot to put my fuel filter in. So I pulled the fuel line out. I'm going to cut it off, a little line here. I'm going to put the fuel filter in line here and get it back in the car. So I'm freaking finally done with the fuel system. Another day out in the garage. What should I do, guys? What should I do? I have to admit, my motivation is waning. I was trying to get this done before the snow came. The last couple days, it's dumped about 7 inches of snow on us. Which means even if I finish tomorrow, this guy is garaged until the spring. Man. A little heartbreaking, but it does give me more time to finish it, and finish it more so than I probably would have before. So that said, what am I taking on today? I don't actually know. You know, I got the titanium header wrap. Let me open it here in a second. There we go, with the fancy stainless zip ties. So perhaps I will take off the passenger side header here and get that guy wrapped up. That's an easy, achievable goal for the day. This one, while not any more difficult to wrap, I want to dent the headers a bit more to clearance them. Clearance is the word. I want to clearance the headers a bit more for the little steering turnbuckle there. And I went out and got this lovely torch kit from my buddy down the street at Minneapolis Oxygen. I always forget that guy's name. I'm sorry, but there's one dude that works there, and he's absolutely awesome. Some sort of foliage in here. There we go. So it should be a lot easier to appropriately heat and clearance that, but I want to wait until Weston comes up next, just because I want a little bit of help with one person heating, the other person banging it out. I also intend to lower the engine about 1/4 of an inch. And if you look, you can see that exhaust runner is sitting pretty much right on the chassis there. So I'm going to have to clearance that guy too. Fun, fun, fun. All right, enough jibber jabber. Let's get this thing off. So I guess it's wrapped-ish. The shape of this makes it tricky. So like these runners get so tight over here that I can't get the wrap between it. And same with these two. They get so tight there I can't get the wrap between it. So I wrapped these down to where I could, and then I began wrapping up from the bottom. I did a crappy job. There's the O2 sensor here, so that's why there's the gap. And that's kind of wrapped up and around, and then... I mean, it's wrapped. And as the fuel line kind of passes by this area here, at least, it's protected. So for my first attempt wrapping an exhaust, okay, you know, whatever. I do need to get a second one of these. I didn't read that one pack is good for pretty much a 4-cylinder header. So I'll get a second pack to prepare to do this one here. So, yeah. Anyway, I got out in the garage. I did something. That's better than nothing. All right. In tonight's attempt to make some progress on something, I began working on the fuel sender unit here, which was all rusty and gunky, but all the rust on the actual metal part was really the surface rust, and it flaked off easily. So I got all that off of there, and then I set to making it actually move. It was so stiff that it wouldn't move at all. Even moving with my hand was difficult. So I managed to get the metal piece, the little float thing, out of this fixture, and I cleaned up the bottom of it with some sandpaper. Just wrapped some sandpaper around it, wiggled it back and forth. I cleaned out the hole that it goes through, and now it just moves all loosey-goosey. Then I cleaned up the ground contact here and kind of stripped the end of the wire so I could test resistance on the potentiometer. And while it was showing resistance, it was very sketchy. So I pulled the bar and this little top plastic piece off the cradle, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I pulled that off, and I gently sanded the top of this little, looks kind of like a fretboard in a guitar. And then underneath you can barely see the sensor moving back and forth. You can kind of see it better there. So I sanded the underside of that a little bit, and then I bent it more down towards the board so it put more pressure on it. And tested again, and now it's got really solid readings all throughout the range. So, nice and loosey-goosey moving, which is great, solid readings. I think this guy's ready to reuse. I'm going to take it inside and solder a new wire to it, because this wire is on its last legs. And then I should be able to attach it to my Deutschwerks fuel pump assembly. and get that thing kind of assembled and built out. Back out in the garage again tonight, and I've been working on the spark plug wires. Overall, things went really smoothly. I went with 8.5mm. I believe it's called dual core wire. There is a difference in the type of core for your spark plug wires. I will try and outline that a bit here later in the video, but some is made for hotter spark, some made for like street driving, some made for track only. I went with the one that's kind of like the dual core, so it's a great combination of performance and reliability. I went with MSD boots on both sides, and that overall went great. I mean, you can't go wrong with MSD products. The 90-degree boots were perfect. Zero problems. The crimps worked great. Awesome. Where I had a huge problem and a huge pain in the butt was these straight boots. Trying to get the cable, the wire, whatever, through these boots is a huge fight. I had to lube it up with dielectric grease, put it in from one side, it would get stuck, pull it out, lube it up even more, put it in the other side, it would get stuck, pull it out, lube it up again, and feed it through the first side again. And then it would finally have the inside of the boot lubricated enough to make it all the way through. But it was just a fight. Additionally, I did the trick. I don't know if any of you are old BMX guys or motorcycle guys, where you jam your air hose in the opposite side of the boot, and it kind of makes it puff up just a little bit for a split second to help it get over the ridges. But even that, gosh, what a frickin' fight. Additionally, the crimps, where are you? Whatever, they're in there. The crimps for these guys would never crimp quite right. The 90 degrees worked awesome. But for these guys, it wouldn't crimp quite right. It would kind of buckle on one side. So I don't know. It's MSD. It's the best stuff there is for ignition. I mean, I don't know of a better brand. But I was just having the darndest time with the straight ones. Either way, all four of these done. They look super cool. I like the red. I was trying to find MSD black boots, but I couldn't find any. But either way, the red and the gray look cool. I am having a little bit of a clearance issue back here where you can see the wire for my coil pack is kind of touching my fuel line. So I might move this guy up just a little bit. I've got a little bit of clearance, or maybe just the actual mount where I mounted the FPR. I might play with this a little bit. We'll see. This will work, and I still need to shift the engine forward a bit. You see the kind of disparate angle where the engine is going, leaning back, and the radiator's here. So I still need to put spacers, subframe spacers in here, and then raise the transmission about 1/4 inch. So that will alleviate some of that contact. Either way, I made some progress. Tomorrow night I'm going to come out and work on this side. It is super cold in Minnesota right now. It's been just 0 degrees Fahrenheit the last couple days. As a reminder, that is 32 degrees Fahrenheit below where things freeze. So it is just a pain. But either way, I'm trying to get out here every night and make a little bit of progress. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Back out in the garage again tonight, working on spark plug wires again. And let me tell you, these 4 went a lot faster than the first 4. The boot on this side, as well as the crimp, are always the pain with this setup. And I found the solution was to just pack the crap out of this side of the boot, whatever, the entry side of the boot with dielectric grease. And then continue to lube the wire up about 1/2 inch at a time as you smashed it in. And that seemed to do the trick. I was able to get it in one go without having to go at both sides and use the air gun and all that crap. So these should be done. This will take care of the driver's side. I'll throw the boots on them here. Show you how these are just little heat boots. They just kind of hang out on there. I'll throw these guys on here, and I will set them over on the driver's side where they will hang out until I'm ready. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Maybe actually wire up the coil packs? I'm still waiting on the wire for the fuel pump assembly so that I can actually change out the wires on the fuel level sender unit. So either way, another couple hours in the garage done. So tonight, the spark plugs came in. So I threw all those in. I know it doesn't look any different than yesterday, but believe me when I say I've got brand new spark plugs. NGK TR6 4177s, gap to 035 all the way around. Did some research and found it's just a good overall street plug. A lot of people run them in their LSs with mild cams, so I figure it should do me well. Next on tonight's agenda is to make more of the fuel rail clip things. 2 clippy things done, and they look not at all alike, but the holes are the right size in the right place, so good. Next, I managed to finish all 4, and they're not perfect, but I think they're going to work pretty well. I would make a little tape stencil over the first one that I knew fit well, and I'd use that to lay out the others. I would center punch the holes in the center punch, and then drill them out with a 6mm cobalt drill bit. I would chamfer the edges by just hitting them briefly with my step drill bit, and then kind of use a file to shape them a little bit better, just because there's no need for power tools for that kind of thing. So that's pretty awesome. I'm going to order the bolts tonight, the bolts and nylock nuts tonight. Why is that guy a little gunky? Anyway, tomorrow I will get started on the steam pipe, if you will. Steam pipe, steam hose, whatever they call it. Most of that stuff came in. After that, I'm hoping to get the radiator hoses done. And then it's just finishing up this header over here and tightening all the fuel and oil stuff down. If I can get that done, the car is pretty darn close to starting. Though I've been saying that for 3 months now, so who knows. What's up, Garage Tuners? Back out in the shop again tonight. It is Sunday, and my brother Weston was kind enough to come up and help me deal with this stinking exhaust header. We did heat it with the oxyacetylene torch and clearance it a bit more, and of course in the process we blew a hole in it because I heated up too much. So I taped the little hole closed and hit it with a file to smooth that out, and now it does clear. Barely, but at this point I don't care. I also clearanced this area here where it was rubbing against the frame rail. I clearanced it a bit high of my mark because the engine's going to drop by about 1/4 inch when I lower the subframe. So it does clear now, which is, I don't know. It's great. It is what it is. If it doesn't clear, if it rattles, I'm just going to push the car into a lake.
Bog.
So, into the bog. So anyway, that happened tonight. I'm very thankful for my brother coming up and helping. That's awesome. Tomorrow night, I need to figure out the steam pipe, if I can actually make it work with this thing here. I will take this fitting off, put the 90 on here. I've already loosely put the 90 on the top of this side over here. I got to put a 45 here and then make the thing that goes from side to side. I got the radiator pipes that I'm going to cut to length, as well as a little fitting in the middle, to which the top piece there will go to here, and that'll connect that up. That'll deal with the upper part of the cooling system. I'm going to purchase a thermostat housing, they call it, for here. And then I will figure out, I'll probably just do 2 more 90s if I can find them to come straight out. Or 40, I don't know, whatever. I'll find appropriate pipes to go from here to the bottom one. And the coolant system is done. The coolant system is done, and the exhaust is done. Then I'll start working on the electrical, and hopefully this thing will start in a few days. We'll see. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate your advice and comments. Please like or dislike and subscribe as I try and make this channel into an actual thing. And if you have suggestions or you want to tell me it sucks and I should do something better, please comment. Thank you for watching and have a good week. So I started the night tonight working on the coolant crossover. However, the plan that I had didn't work. It kind of hits this little tab here. I had the stock one that I thought fit, And it doesn't. So back to the drawing board. I'm going to check the Fast LSXR manual. I think they mentioned one specifically in there that works with this. So I'm going to check that, figure out what that is, order that one, and deal with this problem. In order to keep the build moving and do something tonight, I wrapped the driver's side exhaust header. And this one turned out a lot better than the passenger side, in my opinion. I got some tips from a viewer who said to kind of back wrap it at first. So start here and then wrap down and then back over it. And you oftentimes won't even need a little tie at the end. And he's absolutely right. I'm not that great at it yet, so I put one on just to be safe, but it's a lot tighter than it was on the passenger side. He also mentioned to soak it in water beforehand. This particular manufacturer for this product says that's optional, and while I think that is the right way to do it, it's Minnesota winter right now. The temperatures are crazy. Yes, my garage is heated, but I don't keep it hot. I keep it barely above freezing, so I'm afraid to soak anything in water this time of the year. So I just want to say I'm sure he's right. It's better to do it that way. I'm kind of working with what I got right now. So I will throw the header back in tomorrow night, bolt it up, get all the spark plug wires connected, all the coil packs in their place. Tonight I will dig around online to try and find the solution to that coolant crossover so I can wrap that up, and then I can get my upper coolant hoses in place. I'm also going to dig around and try and find a thermostat housing that will work for this. I don't really know what I want to do yet. I think I'm going to try and find one that swivels so I can kind of come out at a downward sidular angle there. So I'll find one of those tonight. I'll order that at the same time. I want to wrap up the coolant system because once I get the headers on and the coolant system on and my fuel lines all tightened down and my oil lines tightened down, I can work on electrical and start the stinking thing. So we'll see what I do tomorrow night. Last time I came out in the garage, I spent a bit of time and I figured out the intake and upper coolant issue. So I ended up switching over to the factory. This is the LS3 coolant crossover or steam pipe, whatever you're going to call it. However, it still didn't fit. It didn't go under the intake, even though this is the one recommended from Fast LSXR. And so, being the calm and reasonable person I am, I got pissed off. And I pulled the throttle body off, and I just decided to bend this thing. I mean, it's made of aluminum, I believe. It's thin, it's easy to bend. So I said, screw it. Even if I break it, I don't care. I'm going to make this thing fit. And I bent it carefully, little by little, and it fits now. So it's awesome. In the process, I discovered the intake plenum was touching the water pump housing. And so I took a file to the back side of the water pump housing and clearanced it. It's only clearance to hair, but it doesn't need to be clearance a ton. It just needs to be clearance enough to know that when I bolt everything down, it's seated properly. So then I went about bolting the intake plenum down again for like the 18th time. But I realized that last time I didn't put any Loctite on the bolts. So it's kind of a happy accident that I had to do it again. Now everything's Loctited. I got all the injectors and all that stuff back on, and the upper coolant hose is now on. I just went with a couple of 90s that I trimmed to length and added this. It's actually a temperature sensor port with I think it's a 1/4 inch NPT to AN4, and then an AN490 to this guy here that just kind of clamps on to the steam pipe. So that is finally sorted. I still need a couple of hose clamps here, but whatever. I can find those, not a big deal. That's pretty well sorted at this point. Awesome. Today, I'm going about getting my little clips that I made hold the fuel rail on. I had to clearance them a bit with the die grinder so that the bolts would fit, but that should be fine. Bolts fit on all 4 of them now, so I'm going to go ahead and get those in place and finally bolt down the fuel rails, which would be huge if that goes according to plan. We'll see how that goes. So my little clippy things worked out well, which is awesome. It's not perfect, but it works, so I'm happy with that. I used some black hardware on the outside so it doesn't stand out. On the inside, I use stainless with nylock, so it should hold well enough. Once I finished with that, I started working on my fuel hanger, my fuel pump assembly. So I went with the Deutschwerks X1. I know a lot of people were concerned I was going to use this guy again, but I'm not. Deutschwerks X1. I kind of reconditioned my fuel level sender, so that guy should be great, and it's doing its thing. It moves freely. I tested it, and it shows proper resistance. Walbro 255 liter per hour fuel pump. I've got it pretty much all wired up except for the low fuel light that goes in this little hoop right here. The one on this guy is just toast. So I'm going to grab a new one of those. I've also got to use my heat gun, which is in the house, to heat this guy so it'll slide over that tube there easily for the fuel return. I will do that likely tomorrow. Otherwise, once that's done, I can tighten everything down in the fuel system, and the fuel system is done, which is super exciting. I also ordered the hose clamps for the upper radiator hose. I will order the thermostat housing and figure out what hoses I need for that when that comes in. Getting closer, guys. Getting real close to being able to start this thing, which is super cool. Stick around. That's going to be it for this episode, guys. I really appreciate you watching. Please leave a comment down below if you have any advice, or if you just want to yell at me for being dumb. Also, like and subscribe. I'm really trying to kind of make this into a thing, so any help would be greatly appreciated. Please stick around. I'm going to try and put out a new video once every couple weeks, at least a new long format video every couple weeks. Otherwise, check my shorts for buy or try weekly updates. Again, thanks for watching.